Tonight, when the sun goes down, you are going to walk into your bedroom. You will turn off the lights. You will lie down on a carefully engineered structure of metal springs, dense memory foam, and soft woven fabrics. You will close your eyes. You will expect to be totally unconscious and perfectly safe for the next 8 hours. Have you ever stopped to think about how incredibly dangerous that expectation is? Sleep is the absolute most vulnerable state a human being can experience. You are blind, you are deaf, you are completely physically paralyzed. To a roaming predator, you are nothing but an unconscious meal waiting to be consumed. For 99% of human history, bringing a soft, modern mattress into a dark prehistoric cave would not have saved your life. It would have ended it. But the real answer to how your ancient ancestors actually survived the long, terrifying night is far stranger than just sleeping in the dirt. It involves complex natural chemistry, terrifying evolutionary trade-offs, and a highly tuned biological alarm system that still lives deeply inside your brain today. To understand how ancient humans slept, you first have to look up. You have to look directly into the trees. Millions of years ago, the earliest hominid ancestors did not sleep on the ground. They slept high up in the dense, swaying canopy of the prehistoric jungle. Modern chimpanzees and orangutans still do this exact same thing every single night. They intuitively bend sturdy branches. They weave thick green leaves together. They construct elaborate, bowl-shaped sleeping nests high above the physical reach of heavy, ground-dwelling predators. It is safe. It is highly effective. So why did human beings ever leave the safety of the trees? The answer is hidden deep inside the architecture of your brain. Human sleep is radically different from the sleep of every other primate on Earth. Humans sleep for a much shorter total amount of time, but human sleep is incredibly intense. Your brain experiences the absolute highest proportion of REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, of any primate in existence. REM sleep is the critical phase where you dream. It is the phase where your brain rapidly consolidates fragmented memories, processes highly complex emotions, and builds the dense cognitive power that makes you uniquely human. But REM sleep comes with a severe, potentially deadly physical cost. When you enter REM sleep, your brain sends a powerful chemical signal straight down your spinal cord that completely paralyzes your voluntary muscles. This is a medical condition called muscle atonia. It is a safety mechanism designed to stop you from physically acting out your vivid dreams. Now imagine being completely physically paralyzed while balancing on a thin, slippery tree branch 60 feet in the air. You would fall. You would die. To get the deep, highly intensive REM sleep that fueled humanity's massive cognitive expansion, your ancient ancestors had to make a terrifying evolutionary leap. They had to confidently come down from the trees. They had to sleep on the hard, flat ground. They traded the physical safety of the canopy for the deep, brain-building sleep of the earth. But the prehistoric ground was not a safe place. It was a dark, chaotic nightmare. The ancient world was absolutely crawling with massive, hungry apex predators. There were razor-sharp saber-toothed cats. There were giant, aggressive pack hyenas. There were massive, short-faced bears roaming in the absolute pitch-black darkness. How did a soft, slow, completely defenseless human being sleep on the ground without being immediately slaughtered? The first true human bed was not made of leaves, soft animal furs, or woven grass. It was made of fire. Evolutionary anthropologist David Sampson has spent years deeply studying the specific sleep patterns of wild primates and modern indigenous hunter-gatherers. His research strongly suggests that the deliberate control of fire was the single greatest turning point in human sleep architecture. Fire was the ultimate predator deterrent. It forcefully pushed the dangerous lurking shadows back. It created a warm, brightly illuminated circle of absolute safety in the middle of a deeply hostile wilderness. But fire alone was not enough. You still cannot sleep directly on the bare, exposed earth. The ground is freezing cold at night. It violently sucks the body heat right out of your skin through thermal conduction. It is also completely infested with ticks, lice, venomous spiders, and biting insects. Your ancestors desperately needed a microclimate. In 2011, a groundbreaking archaeological discovery changed everything science knew about prehistoric sleep. Archaeologist Lynn Wadley was carefully excavating a massive rock shelter in South Africa called Sibudu Cave. Buried deep under the ancient dusty dirt, she found a highly compressed layer of fossilized plant material. It was exactly 77,000 years old. It was an ancient mattress. But it was not just a random, messy pile of dead leaves. It was a highly calculated, scientifically engineered piece of survival technology. The ancient humans living at Sibudu Cave harvested specific types of thick sedge grasses from a nearby rushing river. They hauled massive bundles of this fibrous material up into the elevated rock shelter. They layered these soft grasses incredibly thickly on the cave floor to create a powerful physical barrier of insulation against the freezing, heat-stealing dirt. But they did not stop there. On top of the woven grass, they deliberately laid down a dense, fragrant layer of green leaves from the cryptocarya woody-eye tree. Why did they choose that specific tree? Because when you crush those specific leaves under the heavy weight of a human body, they instantly release powerful aromatic chemicals containing high levels of camphor. Camphor is a highly toxic, totally natural insect repellent. These ancient humans perfectly understood the raw power of organic chemistry. They engineered a mattress that actively, aggressively repelled malaria-carrying mosquitoes and deadly ticks while they slept. It was a biological shield. Furthermore, Wadley discovered thin, tightly compressed layers of stark white ash sandwiched perfectly between the layers of fossilized green grass. The ancient humans were not just sleeping on the exact same dirty bed forever. They deeply understood the invisible creeping threat of microscopic parasites. After a few weeks, when the mattress became heavily infested with pests, dead skin flakes, or lice, they deliberately set the entire bed on fire. They burned the sleeping mat to a crisp. Then, they laid down a fresh, clean layer of green grass directly on top of the sterilized white ash. They were actively practicing advanced hygiene and rigorous parasite control tens of thousands of years before the invention of modern soap, chemical bleach, or antibiotics. The fine ash itself acted as an abrasive powder that physically destroyed the sharp exoskeletons of any crawling insects that tried to return. But even with insect-repelling leaves and a blazing hot campfire, the physical mattress was only half of the ancient sleep equation. The other half was human behavior. Today, modern society views sleep as a solitary, silent, 8-hour block of total unconsciousness. People lock their heavy wooden bedroom doors. You turn on white noise machines to block out the chaotic world. You completely isolate yourself from your community. But for ancient humans, sleep was a highly active, heavily social, intensely communal event. Evolutionary anthropologist Gandhi Yetish has lived directly with and studied the complex sleep habits of the Hadza people in Tanzania and the San people in Namibia. These unique groups, currently live as traditional hunter-gatherers, existing in wild environments very similar to the ones your ancient ancestors constantly navigated. Yetish found that they almost never sleep for 8 continuous hours in a dark, perfectly quiet room. They do not have strict, socially enforced bedtimes. They go to sleep several hours after the sun goes down. But they do not fall asleep just because it gets dark. They fall asleep because of the ambient temperature drop. For millions of years, the human body was perfectly, harmoniously synced to the natural cooling of the earth after sunset. The steady drop in environmental temperature physically signals the human brain to rapidly release melatonin. Today, you blast artificial central heating. You wrap yourself in heavy, heat-trapping synthetic blankets. You completely confuse your ancient biological thermostat. When the modern hunter-gatherers sleep, they wake up frequently during the night. They tend to the glowing red embers of the fire. They casually talk to each other across the open camp. They listen carefully to the ambient sounds of the surrounding bush. They practice what sleep scientists call biphasic or polyphasic sleep. It is a completely fluid, highly flexible approach to human rest. But the most fascinating discovery came from looking at the entire social group at once. How does a massive, noisy tribe of humans sleep out in the open without leaving themselves highly vulnerable to a stealth predator? They use a built-in biological alarm system. They dramatically stagger their sleep. David Sampson, working alongside other evolutionary researchers, recorded the exact minute-by-minute sleep patterns of an entire Hadza tribe over a period of 20 uninterrupted days. What they found was absolutely astonishing. Out of more than 200 hours of highly detailed recorded time, there was exactly 18 minutes where every single person in the tribe was asleep at the exact same time. 18 minutes. For over 99% of the total night, at least one person was fully awake. At least one person was totally alert. At least one person was watching the fire line and listening intensely to the terrifying sounds of the darkness. They did not verbally plan this schedule. They did not assign formal military-style guard shifts. It happened entirely automatically. How? It is called the Sentinel Hypothesis. It is the core evolutionary reason why human chronotypes exist today. A chronotype is your underlying biological preference for exactly when you sleep. You have probably noticed this strange phenomenon in your own family. Some people are natural early birds. They easily wake up at 5 in the morning, completely full of energy, but they physically crash by 8 at night. Other people are natural night owls. They cannot fall asleep until 2 in the morning, but they will happily sleep deeply until noon. Today, modern society completely punishes night owls. The strict 9-to-5 corporate world tells you that staying up late is a sign of laziness. It tells you that your sleep schedule is broken. But your sleep schedule is not broken. It is perfectly, flawlessly designed. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, a prehistoric tribe where everyone got completely tired at the exact same time was a dead tribe. If everyone falls deeply asleep at 10 o'clock, the protective fire goes out, the wild wolves come in, and everyone is killed. Evolution actively, aggressively selected for massive genetic variation in human sleep cycles. The elderly members of the tribe naturally woke up in the extreme, dark early hours of the morning. The teenagers and young adults naturally stayed awake deep into the absolute darkest part of the night. It formed an unbreakable, overlapping chain of human consciousness. The night owl was not lazy. The night owl was the sentinel. They were the brave ones, keeping the fire blazing bright when the rest of the vulnerable tribe was deep in paralyzed REM sleep. Your modern insomnia, your late-night racing anxiety, your complete inability to shut your brain off when the house gets totally quiet, it might not be a medical disorder at all. It might just be your ancient biology waking up to protect the group. Your brain feels the darkness. It feels the sudden silence. It assumes the tribe is highly vulnerable, and it is desperately trying to take the night watch. Modern society has spent the last 100 years aggressively trying to force the wild human animal into a perfectly sterile, silent, 8-hour box. You sleep on synthetic modern mattresses. You stare at glowing blue light screens until midnight. You isolate yourself in dark, quiet rooms, pushed far away from the communal safety of the tribe and the brilliant warmth of the fire. Humanity has completely forgotten how it was actually built to rest. Tonight, when the sun goes down, you are going to walk into your bedroom. You will turn off the artificial lights. You will lie down on a carefully engineered structure of metal springs and synthetic memory foam. You will sink into a mattress. But as you lie there perfectly still in the dark, listening to the absolute silence of your room, remember that your brain is still completely wired for the ancient night. You are not just a modern person trying to get 8 hours of rest. You are a prehistoric sentinel, waiting patiently for your shift by the fire.